Hello, everybody. I'm not really sure who's going to be watching this, if anybody will. I'm assuming eventually I'll get some views, but I just wanted to start my vlog. It's going to be basically my journey through the seminary. I signed up for a course with Master's Seminary for biblical counseling. I've been thinking about it for a little while. We've been doing a Bible study based on the Master's Seminary level. And I'm not going to be doing any editing or anything like that. I've tried recording the first episode a couple times now, and the first one was like 20 minutes, and it just didn't sound sincere. I even wrote everything down, what I wanted to say, but it just wasn't coming out sincere. And the second time I did it, it was up to 15 minutes, and it required some editing as well. And then I thought, you know what? I don't have time for this. I feel like I do want to do the vlog. I don't have time for editing, so I think I decided that I'm going to do the vlog because I don't want to regret later not doing it. But I'm also going to be just going with the flow. I'm not going to be doing any editing to save time, and for authenticity purposes. I really like authentic people. I like real people, and I want to show myself as a real person, just the way I am. I'm gonna make some mistakes. I'm probably gonna say some stuff that doesn't make sense. I am I can be pretty insecure about my accent sometimes, or the way I structure sentences and everything. But you know what? I said I'm just gonna do it. So my name is Dennis. I live in Denver. For those who don't know me, I have a wife and 2 kids. I work for one of the major fire departments here in Denver Metro. I own a mortgage company. I help my brother-in-law with a cabinet company. And on top of all of that, I have decided to take a class, or I should say a degree from Master's Seminary. I'm going for biblical counseling. My background is Slavic Baptist. I was born and raised in Russia, came over here in 2004, used to go to a Slavic Baptist church. We stopped going there approximately 7 years ago. Right now it's 2024. I don't know why I looked on the side, but it's been about 7-8 years now. We go to a Bible church, and for the last 2 years, I think I have seen some changes in my life, and I think God's been working on me. We have been doing a Bible study, a small group Bible study with a couple families. And in the last probably 3 or 4 months, I had this desire to start to learn something that I can actually pass on to others. And it's not like it would not be my personal wisdom or anything like that, but I think it's going to be more of I want to know more about God, so then I can serve God, or have God serve people, so God could serve people through me. I'm not doing any editing, so if yeah, I'm not going to say anything. So it is what it is. I am who I am, and I can't. Sometimes I don't say things perfectly. Sometimes I need to think, and you're probably going to see a lot of that in this video and the coming videos. Anyway, I signed up for biblical counseling because I feel like in our Slavic culture, that is something that's really, really lacking. And I have been seeing that. I probably was aware of that to some degree, but I think more and more in the last couple of years, I saw the need for it. I don't know how it's gonna come to fruition, but I feel like God's calling me to start building the foundation, and then whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. If nothing's gonna come out of it, maybe it'll just serve this journey will serve me in my faith, as far as building a stronger foundation. But I do hope that God uses me. I don't want to dictate, or I don't want to tell God what I want. I mean, I've been asking for God's guidance in this sense, and I'm signed up for it. I got accepted, and I just wanted to share little details before we start getting into the actual studies. This vlog is going to be more of my journey, what I've been learning, how God's been talking to me, um, something that I find along the way. But today I just wanted to share the structure of the course, the classes that we're going to be taking, that I'm going to be taking. It is a bachelor's degree, and normally a full-time bachelor degree takes about 4 years. And then if you're smart, probably a little bit shorter. With my lack of time, I am a remote, I guess it's called remote position, not the remote position, I'm talking about an actual job, but a remote learning, and I would be doing one class at a time, probably according to my math, and including all the classes all the elective classes that I'm gonna take, which are like music and art, philosophy, world history, and stuff like that. If I just go for the degree, it's probably gonna take me close to 6 years. But we got to start, and I want to start with biblical classes first. And as far as the general education for the master's seminary, I'm going to start with Old Testament survey 1 and 2, and continue on with New Testament survey 1 and 2. We've actually been taking the same classes in the small group study, and it's been pretty amazing to see the correlation between the Old Testament and the New Testament. In my faith, when I was growing up, we're looking at the Old Testament as, Old Testament is for the Jews and the New Testament is for the Christians. We should concentrate more on the New Testament, and we can read the Old Testament. We can take something from there, but it's not as important as the New Testament. That was my personal view of the Old Testament. And during the Bible study, the small group Bible study, I actually saw that the Old Testament, there is so much information in the Old Testament, and just how amazingly it is connected between with the New Testament. My counselor was going to schedule me for some other classes, and I told her that no, I want to start with the Old Testament survey. I want to get all the biblical classes first. I'm not necessarily going for the degree. I could care less about the paper that says, you got the bachelor's degree, here you go. I'm going for the actual knowledge of it. And with master's seminary, I've talked to some people, and I think even majority of the people from Moscow, whenever they fly to the States here to seminaries, a lot of them do go to master's seminary, and I think Bakhmutsky is one of them as well. But those are just what I've heard. I haven't talked to him about it or anything like that. So it's a legit seminary. Let's see here. We're starting with the Old Testament. We're continuing on with the New Testament. Every class is 8 weeks. And yesterday I looked at the assignments, and I was a little bit shocked. I knew that it wasn't going to be easy. But when I looked at the assignments, I really started thinking about my time management. I'm going to have to spend less time on YouTube and other useless things that I do every once in a while. And I think that's the thing. Maybe it will be a better time management for me, knowing that I don't have time, that I need to spend time on something that is a lot more important. Hopefully that will teach me some discipline, because I'm assuming we all spend time on things that aren't necessarily beneficial to us, and sometimes we regret it after we do that. We'll wake up, and if we don't work, we could spend an hour on the phone before we realize, oh, it's been an hour. So hopefully it's going to teach me some discipline. So let's say for the first week, right, this assignment for the first week is about 11 to 12 hours of commitment. In the week, here's what I would have to do. This is for the Old Testament survey 1, which is, like I said, 8 weeks, 2.5 months. The first week, read the book of Genesis, then read the first chapter of the book Yesterday, Today, and Forever. And that book, we had to buy 2 books for the first survey. One of them was Yesterday, Today, and Forever. I haven't started reading this book, but according to the preface of the book, it's going to be opening up a lot of interesting facts that connect the Old Testament with the New Testament. The second book that I have started reading is The Messiah. The Messiah, Revealed, Rejected, and Received by William Varner. And I only read, there's 230 pages. I've read 40 pages, and it's actually been really, really interesting. And maybe I can share something with you. It was talking about the Garden of Eden, but it also talked about the three sons in Genesis, how we have Ham, let's see here, Ham, Japheth, and let's see, you got Canaan, son of Ham, you got Shem and Japheth. And son of Ham, that was the Canaan was cursed, even though his dad did the deed. He uncovered his dad's nakedness, which you could read in the book what that means, or what they think it means. But it talks about, let's see here, Canaan. Cush refers to Ethiopia, Mizraim, the mistaken idea. So Ham, Canaan, son of Ham, right? They had Ham. Like I said, I'm not doing any editing, so I've been screwing up, but you know what? I'm just going to go with it. So, from memory, Ham had 4 or 5 sons, and Canaan was one of them. And when he uncovered his Noah's nakedness, the interesting fact was that it wasn't that Ham that was cursed, but his son, Canaan. And it also talks about the other 4 sons, and it kind of talks about how the land was populated after Noah with his 3 sons. So we got Ham, Shem, and Japheth. And it talks about the sons of Ham, which was Cush, and he went to Ethiopia. Mizraim refers to Egypt. Put refers to North Africa. And that Canaan was assigned to the promised land, right? Hanaan. In Russian, it's called Hanaan, Canaan. And it's an interesting fact that Canaan was cursed instead of his father for whatever reason. You can find that reason in the book. And then also talked about the mistaken idea that Ham's African descendants are cursed is a myth too, often sadly perpetuated even to this day. And I do remember hearing that before, that the sons of Ham were, the people that populated Africa, and they were cursed. And like I said, I remember hearing that before. Shem was received a blessing. So Ham received a curse, and then Shem and Japheth received blessing. And Shem received a spiritual blessing. And let's see here. And from Shem, we got Shemites that became great Middle Eastern people, including those later called Arabs and Jews. And let's see here, some of the stuff that I highlighted. What is the most important to notice, however, is that from Genesis 11:10 through the Revelation, the biblical account deals almost exclusively with Shem descendants. Genesis 11:27 introduces us to Abraham, a Shemite from the clan of Shem. And then Japheth, and like I said, I know I started with my I wanted to share all the classes that I've got for the degree and the module, but I also wanted to share with this book since I started talking about it. Japheth's sons included Gomer, Magog, Javan, and Meshech. And those people were the ones that populated the Russia, Eastern Europe, and Western Europe. So Europe and Russia. And I think that what my connection was, that one of the sons was Magog. And I think it talks about in Revelation about Magog, and that's why we think that the Magog will come from the north, which that's where he went, and that Magog could be Russia. So that was interesting. But one of the things that I never thought about was talking about the blessings. It had the blessing for Shem, and it had the blessing of Japheth. And according to Genesis 9:27, it talked about some, let's see here, may God enlarge Japheth and let him dwell in the tents of Shem and let Canaan be his servant. And then the book talks about how the population, the European population, I mean, it was enlarged because it was a blessing. The sons of Japheth populated Europe and Western and Eastern Europe, and then it was talking about letting him dwell in the tents of Shem. And at that time, when I read the Bible, I never thought about it, but here it says the following, according to Genesis 9:27, someday the Gentile peoples will dwell in the tents of Shemites. In other words, they will partake of Shem's unique privilege, a special relationship to the one true God. Jesus indicated that his work would be extended beyond the realms of Jewish people by his declaration in John 16 that says, and I have the other sheep that are not of this fold. I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice, so there will be one flock, one shepherd. It was not until after his resurrection, ascension, and granting of the Holy Spirit to the young church that the tent door was finally opened to Japheth. Even then, those early Jewish believers were hesitant to go to the supposedly unclean Gentiles. Finally, God showed Peter that the Gentiles were to be granted the same opportunity that the Jews had received. And it's interesting that in Acts chapter 8, 9, and 10, we see how God was still not influencing, but it talks about correlating a beautiful illustration of how the gospel relates to each of the three branches of mankind, right? Shem, Japheth, and Ham. In Acts chapter 8, it records the conversation of Ethiopian, which was the descendant of Ham. In Acts chapter 9, it records the conversion of Saul, which was a descendant of Shem. And in chapter 10, it records the conversion of Cornelius, which was a descendant of Japheth. And it's just so interesting. And I was reading about let's see here. After that, I was reading about the prophet, priest, and the Messiah, just showing Messiah from the very beginning, from Genesis, and pointing it to the future, to the New Testament, and how everything correlates. And that's why I was really, really excited to start with the foundation, with the Old Testament, New Testament. Then let's go through the classes. So the first class that I'm going to be taking, Old Testament survey. First week, read the book of Genesis, which today I already read 25 chapters. Yesterday, today and forever, this book right here, first chapter, it's only 20 pages, so that wasn't bad. And then the Messiah, I had to break it down. It's about 40 pages per week. Introduction and lectures that I would have to watch. It's about 3 hours for this particular week. Then there's a reading and report discussion, and then some kind of Hay-Layer worksheet, which is the author of this book. We're going to be doing some kind of worksheet. There's no exam for the first week. Next week, I'm going to have to read 40 pages of the Messiah book, and then read the whole book of Exodus. And what I've been doing recently, last year I read the Bible from beginning to, well, actually it took me a year and a half. This year I started, since I finished a little bit earlier, I started reading Bible. I had a little head start, and what I'm doing this year, I'm reading the Bible through Dwell app. So turn that on. It's an audio format, but then you can either follow the Bible through the app. You can actually watch it and listen to it. And sometimes what I would do, I would just kind of turn it on, put it aside, and read the Bible, my own Bible. And I think that I've heard from studies that if you just read something, you retain so much percentage, right? If you hear something, you retain maybe a little bit less than reading, I'm assuming. There's a graph of that somewhere. But I do know that when you combine the two, you retain so much information. So that was the purpose of me doing that. And today, I think I've read and listened to probably 12 chapters. And then when I was driving today, back and forth, I've been listening to it. And as long as I stay concentrated, and don't start daydreaming, I think it's almost as good as reading it. But we were talking in the Telegram channel that somebody said that, oh, cheating is probably listening to Bible is probably cheating instead of reading it. And there is a place in the Bible, I'll find that it talks about the blessings of um, reading and listening to the scriptures. So that is okay to listen to the Bible. I think you need to stop when it's just a background noise and you think that hey, I listened to the Bible 2 chapters today, but I don't really remember what it was about. I think that's wrong, but if you can really concentrate, keep focus on the Bible, I think that is okay, and I actually like it. Second week, Book of Exodus, lectures 5 through 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 lectures. I don't know what I was counting, but that's going to be in the video. 2.5 hours for lectures, reading, discussion, and report. No assignment that week, no exam. Then the book of Leviticus, the whole book of Leviticus, chapter 2 from one book. Then Messiah, lectures from 4 lectures for 2 hours. Haley worksheet, and then there's going to be an exam. There are going to be 2 midterm exam that is 5 hours with like 54 questions. The final exams, I think it's a closed book exam, and it's going to be 74 questions. But what I'm kind of dreading right now is the book review of the Messiah. So you would actually have to, once I finish with the book, I would have to do a book review, and here it says approximately it's going to take you 17 hours in 1 week just for the book. But if you combine it with everything else, that's almost 28 hours. So it's a little much, but I think I can do it. I think that's the thing that I dread the most. It's not the reading part. It's not reading the Bible or the books part. And exams, I feel like if I know the material, I'll be fine with the exams. But reading reviewing, I'm not a big writer. I don't like to write, and when I write, sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes I ask other people to check my my thought process whenever I write stuff. Sometimes it don't make sense, and that's why I buy some things to keep me in check, right? So I think I used Grammarly for emails whenever I do business, and then started utilizing ChatGPT, the paid version of that, to kind of restructure my sentences in a professional manner whenever I have to do that professionally. So we went through the module schedule for Old Testament Survey 2, which will take us from Genesis to, I think it was Samuel and Ruth, 2 Samuel, and I believe in Russian that's Первое, Второе Царство and Ruth. So that will be it for the Old Testament. And as far as the classes, Old Testament survey, New Testament survey, Christian theology 1 and 2, essentials of Christian thought, and then there's a bunch of elective classes: English composition, world literature, spoken communication, essentials of music and art, philosophy, world history, U.S. government, essentials of economics, biology. I actually took one class, college level class in biology before I became a firefighter, because I thought I would have to be a paramedic. So hopefully we can count that, because that was painful. And I'll be taking all those classes at the very end. Like I said, the degree doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me is the knowledge that these classes will provide, the Christian classes. So I'm going to take all the classes that I want first, and then if I want to complete the degree, I'll probably take those electives as well. I do think I want to go for masters, and I think as a prerequisite for masters, you would have to have a bachelor's degree. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Required major courses: Foundations of Biblical Study, Biblical Interpretation, Intro to Biblical Counseling. Those are all major classes, standalone classes. Methods of Biblical Counseling, Introduction to Psychology. And I think that class is going to be talking about, hey, here's the worldly version of how to deal with things, and it's called psychology, but here's the biblical way. My understanding is that they don't really mix psychology with biblical counseling, because psychology is a worldly wisdom, and I think there's going to be some things that psychology takes from the Bible, but introduction to psychology, I think it's going to be more of a, hey, here's what the world teaches to families deal with these problems. And it's going to be an introduction to psychology. Elementary Greek 1, 2, and 3, because New Testament was written in Greek, which is kind of weird. I just found out, I found that out recently, because I'm like, well, Jewish people at that time, like, you know how we as immigrant, we so clingy to our language. We're like, well, our service got to be in Russian. We got to make sure that our kids learn Russian. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but with Jewish people and their culture, I thought they would be even more highlighted in that level. Like, hey, everything needs to be in not is it Jewish. So Jews spoke. What language did they speak? Jewish. Aramaic maybe? What language did Jesus speak? Yeah, Aramaic. So I actually knew that, and I said it before I saw it, so it counts. Aramaic, right? Why was a New Testament written in Aramaic? Because it was Jewish culture, and I wasn't really looking forward to these classes, but I think it will give me. Well, this really scared me. I just got a phone call. I'm like, I've been recording for 26 minutes. You know, I wanted to make sure that none of that disappeared. And that's one of the drawbacks of recording with an iPhone. And sometimes I get into things I was thinking, oh, maybe I should get some kind of thing as something else to record with. And I do have a GoPro, but GoPro records such a high quality that it takes forever to transfer videos. And that was one of my first videos that I recorded was with a GoPro. And I think it was a 10-minute video, and it was taking 10 minutes to transfer it to my iPhone. So I'm like, no, that's not gonna work. I want it to be easy. I just wanna record on the fly. I don't wanna edit. In this case, I'm gonna have to edit putting those two clips together. I don't think I'm gonna be cutting anything out. And I don't think I'm gonna be watching myself, because I'm just gonna be too critical and be like, you know what, I should cut this out, that out. But we're going for authenticity. And I think in our culture, and well, I think with any culture, sometimes we lack authenticity, and hopefully I can show that on this channel, and hopefully you guys can feel that as well. Biblical, we talked about Greek. Hopefully Greek will be able to give me the knowledge to read the Bible the way it was written, because if we're using the ESV, I read ESV in English, and I use Synodalny перевод in Russian, and they are translations, right? And sometimes you understand things a little bit better in English. Sometimes if you want to see a different outlook of that same verse, you would read the Synodalny перевод, and I think it would be really, really cool to see what it actually said in their original language. So I'm actually looking forward to that, but I think it's going to be towards the end of my studies. Biblical conflict resolution, theological basis of biblical counseling. I think that is going to be that's probably going to be the next class I'm going to take after New Testament, Old and New Testaments, theological basis of biblical counseling. A lot of times I feel like in our Slavic culture, we always refer to our personal experiences. We like telling stories. Oh, this one time that happened, you know, and I remembered the verse in the Bible, and I did this. And I'm not trying to discredit that, but I think what we're lacking is a strong foundational biblical theology for counseling. Marriage and family, problems and procedures, 1 and 2 different classes. Applied counseling. Okay, that was another call. So what I learned during this vlog, my first vlog, that's it's probably a good idea to put your phone in the airplane mode, which I did. So we shouldn't be getting any phone calls, but my family, my kids about to come back from school with Victoria, my wife's name. So I don't have much time, but the last classes are going to be marriage and family, problems and procedures 1 and 2, applied counseling theory, counseling observation and analysis, senior integration seminar, and then distinctives of biblical living. I'm very excited, and then there's also three more classes that I would have to take. I'm really excited about this. I was a little hesitant. I felt like God was putting it in my heart, but then I also didn't want to do something of my own. But I'm starting this vlog without telling about it to anybody. It's the beginning of 2024. It was not a part of my New Year's resolution because usually those resolutions fail. It was something that was on my heart for the last 2 months on and off. I didn't think I was going to do it. I wanted to do it. I guess the biggest thing, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to not do it and regret it later. So this was the first episode, probably going to be about 30 minutes. I do think that I want to make those shorter because we have a very short attention span, but I also want these videos to be more informative. So I'm going to be sharing with my experiences, with my findings. Hopefully, the whole purpose of this is not to say that I'm right or somebody else is wrong, but the whole purpose of this is for you, for me, to find answers in the Bible, to go in the Bible, because a lot of times I think we refer to the easiest way is to ask somebody, oh, well, what do you think I should do here? But when we're going to be in front of the throne, in front of Jesus, talking about explaining our deeds, we're going to be answering for ourselves. Why did you do this? You had the Bible, and you're not going to be able to say, well, our elders were teaching it this way or that way. So the major thing for me is God gave me access to the Bible, and I need to know, I need to dig deeper in the Bible and see what it says. And I also hope that this vlog will kind of, and here's the insecurity that I'm running into. English is not my first language. Russian is, and sometimes it's easier to explain myself in Russian, but sometimes it's not. And in this case, I probably can't explain myself in either one of those languages. I'm trying to promote this urge inside of you to find answers in the Bible yourselves. I'm not trying to discredit sermons or the ability to ask godly people about certain situations. That's actually what I'm going for. I'm going for counseling. But to find answers in the Bible for yourselves, and hopefully spark an interest to read the Bible, not just for the check marks, but for the growth that every Christian should have. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.